Wherefore, Series 3, Episode 44. It is as though 1,000 voices all howled in rage at once and then fell silent. All across the district, dreamers wake from the same hideous nightmare. Marjorie Peaseblossom has barely poured water over her tea leaves when the phone starts ringing. Having endured the same horror herself, she is not in an ideal state to field the distress of Stroud, but she does it anyway. This is her job. It's hardly the first time she has surfaced from alarming dreams to find that a significant number of other people have suffered the same experience. At least, having had the nightmare, she is somewhat equipped to deal with it. A woman sobs loudly into her ear. Marjorie puts her phone into a hands-free mode just to get some distance. There is sniffing. "It hurts so much," the woman says between gasps. "I know it was only a dream. Why does it hurt so much?" "It's very reasonable to be upset about being buried alive," Marjorie says. "Dreams do act upon the body. However, if the chest pain continues, you should speak to your doctor about it, just in case this is something conventional medicine can help you with." The first 3 people to report having been buried alive during the night also managed to tell her that they sprouted rather unpleasant things from their chests. An abandoned mattress, broken glass, a cutlery-based art installation that was then ridiculed by famous art critics. Caller number 4 says that he dreams he was planted in a big wooden planter in the middle of town, and that the amazing appearing and disappearing urinal came up through him, and then people peed on him. He is convinced that he still smells of urine. Marjorie has enough time after this phone call to wonder when the last sighting of the rogue urinal was, and, for that matter, where. It had a street corner of preference and tended to show up after dark, but not always in the same place, and never at a predictable time. Local legend has it that the uncanny night urinal would take victims down into the underworld, trapping them inside it as it returned to the bowels of the earth. As no one locally has ever claimed to have survived a urinal abduction, there is only wild speculation about what happens next. The urinal has been inactive for some time. Perhaps content with its tithe of souls for now, perhaps vanquished by some unnamed hero, or maybe biding its time before striking again. She wonders if the urinal is behind these dreams of being buried alive. 5 phone calls and 3 cups of tea later, and the frantic reporting slows down a little. Marjorie is able to get online, where she finds a dozen or so emails from the recently afflicted. The theme of burial and ominous growth dominate, and there are no further urinal incidents, so she assumes that probably isn't the key issue. Only then does she make it as far as Twitter, where the first item she sees comes from Stroud Times, announcing Stonehouse in Bloom has been awarded gold by the Heart of England in Bloom judges. This explains everything. The pain, the rage, the howling, the burials, the weird growths. Maybe not the urinal, but everything else. Stonehouse in Bloom is triumphant. All those dreams designed to recruit people to work for Stroud in Bloom have come to naught. Not merely has the town failed to win, but it has lost out to its nearest neighbour, adding insult to injury. Marjorie has sensed for some time that Stroud exists as an entity in its own right. She has a growing sense of her own role as caretaker and nurse for the town itself. She assumes that other towns and villages may also have achieved consciousness, but she does not deal so directly with them. Stroud, she feels, has always considered itself superior to Stonehouse. It is unbearable to Stroud that Stonehouse has won in this way. One of the unintended consequences of this dream is that as the day progresses, many of the dreamers come to the same conclusion as Marjorie. They are all people who have long been sensitive to Stroud dreams. They have all had the one about the Stroud in Bloom meeting happening on top of them, and the one where they are trying to eat fish and chips but are unable to because of Lars Huckington's thighs. Some of them have yodeled in their sleep. Some have even yodeled in waking life and not known why. I have to this point been fairly careful about not revealing that Stroud is a sentient being in its own right. I can tell you anything is fiction, and it will seem that way to you. And so it is that I am able to put a great many true things in front of you with no risk of you believing them. This is one of the powers permitted to a weaver, and I have no idea what purpose it is for, aside from hiding true stories in plain sight. So, I have been telling you that it is only a story that Stroud is sentient. However, at this point, it is increasingly obvious to a number of people that the town talks to them, especially through their dreams. The town has grown careless, and I think this is because the wizards are in such a state of chaos that it no longer feels at any great risk of being exploited by them. Also, the town knows its own mind and feels less anxious than it used to about being persuaded into things it does not really want. You can understand how it might feel that way. It's had some strange things imposed on it in the past. The uncanny urinal is a case in point, and by no means the only one. There is another strange contraption in Lansdowne Hall, also designed for carrying the unwary into the underworld. There are the peculiar metal toadstools at the top of the high street that sometimes form a portal. There is the Tricorn House, a three-sided concrete monstrosity that has been empty forever, has killed at least one person already, and is likely to kill again. The fencing around it really isn't equal to restraining it. Stroud has consciousness. It is entirely corporeally present. But it can only do things by getting that which is inside it to do the doing, which frankly is a potluck enterprise at the best of times. Oh, sure, sometimes you get awards for your grass verge management, sometimes you get labelled as the best place to live in the entire country and get invaded by swarms of people who do not wonder what they can do for Stroud. It's hard work being a town. It's incredibly hard work getting people to act in their own interests, much less your own. Manifesting giants doesn't turn out to be a viable alternative to trying to get people to do stuff. Do you spend all of your energies trying to keep fairies out or trying to stop fly tippers? Because both are full-time jobs, let me tell you. Do you try and stitch up the places where the fabric of reality is looking thin, or do you invite in a massive horde of interdimensional spiders in the hope they might do it for you? And then, what do you do when your interdimensional spiders start showing up inside people's mouths? Do you even care, Stroud? Do you? I've coughed up at least 7 of them this morning. You aren't making any friends right now.